The next day, my helicopter was assigned a single flight mission to take two senior officers back to their lodgings in Saigon. It seemed we would be let loose for a little while so as to have time to go to the PX to buy a few things. The AC decided to make this ride to Saigon an eventful one for the senior officers. I think they were two colonels. It was fine with us. We headed out as usual at about 1,500 feet, and then the AC asked my gunner and I to open up on a canal line, which we did. He dropped down to ground level extremely fast and told the officers that we were receiving fire. We then flew a crazy treetop level course, weaving this way and that way with my gunner and I firing into empty fields. It was a great amusement ride that Hueys were good at. Lots of G-forces switching around. The senior officers got airsick and scared and threw up into their hats. It took us about 30 minutes of this crazy ride to get to Saigon. The senior officers jumped out of our helicopter as soon as we hit the ground. One of them fell over and the other was helping him up when we took off like a bat out of hell. Ha! That was a lot of fun. Actually, we were used to this crazy flying at times coming out of PZs if we were taking fire. We did this in medevac missions too. If we were really good, we could do this coming into LZs, but usually we came in like a flight of ducks in a row ready to be shot down. Coming in like a row of ducks was not my idea of tactics. We could come in weaving, but still land one behind the other if I was in charge. We landed, I think, at the Saigon dog track, where our helicopter would be protected by infantry assigned for that purpose. We all took motorized rickshaws to the big PX. My object was to buy a 35mm QL-19 Canon camera and film for myself, and a Super 8 movie camera and film for my buddy Ray Hopkins. Ray was in maintenance, and we decided I could take some movies of combat operations and of just flying around. The PX was huge and had all sorts of electrical things like turntables, amplifiers, tape decks, speakers, and other items of great quality and low prices because of no customs fees or taxes. Most all good equipment was made in Japan at that time. I could only get color slide film for my QL-19 Canon 35mm, and supposedly there was nowhere in Vietnam to get the film developed. That would be okay. I will just send the rolls of film home to be developed. I would try to remember what I took pictures of and explain them to my family as they received the rolls of film. My gunner and I wanted to get back to our helicopter even though we had about 2 hours left to wander around. My gunner bought a nice Akia tape deck at the PX. We figured we got what we came for and didn't want to take a chance on getting robbed somehow, even though we both carried loaded .45 automatics. We took a motorized rickshaw back to the helicopter. The pilots were not back yet, which was fine. My gunner and I wanted to look over what we bought. Some of the infantry fellows came up and sat around on the helicopter and knew we were from the 116th AHC Cu Chi from our aircraft markings and asked how things were around Cu Chi. We told them not so great, and told them to keep their guard duty here as long as they could if they could. One of them said his cousin was sent to the 25th Infantry Division in Cu Chi as a grunt and was killed on his 9th day there. We said we were sorry to hear that. It was a common story for that area. People didn't last long as infantry there, nor as 116th Combat Flight crews for that matter. Our pilots got back not too long after us with some electrical equipment. It was our shopping day. The AC talked to our operations room by radio, and we had orders to pick up a pallet of Black Label beer from Long Bin, compliments of someone for something. There were a lot of favors done back and forth, especially concerning helicopter units. We transported whatever to pretty much wherever. This was a favor for someone dropping some captured AK-47S off to someone. AK-47S were worth a lot as captured weapons, especially among the troops in the rear base camp areas. They send them home with big war stories attached. Self-imagined war heroes, whatever. We received a pallet of beer from them to be shared by the officers and EM Club of the 116th. I never heard of Black Label as I was not an alcohol drinker, but I intended to try one of them as long as we were transporting so many. We landed in Long Bin, and a forklift put them on our helicopter. What a nice shopping day this was. We flew back to Coochie with our load and were warmly received as the EM Club at the time had no beer. My gunner and I each had a beer. It was hot as the EM Club had no ice or coolers working at the time. Our generator kept breaking down. It tasted bad, I guess, as any hot beer did. I didn't finish mine, and neither did my gunner, as it tasted like kerosene to us. But probably any hot beer would taste like kerosene, we figured.